Everyone. So there is a lot of talk and conversation about DAngelo Russell, and rightfully so, right? He had a terrible game, to put it lightly. In 24 minutes, he had 2 points, 1 of 9 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. He did have 3 rebounds and 8 assists, and he only had 1 turnover, which, that's the kind of playmaking we need from DAngelo Russell. Keep the turnovers low, get some high assists, and impact the game of basketball. But we need his shot creating. We need his playmaking. He also got it done on the defensive end in the time he was in with 1 block and 1 steal. But again, he's supposed to be the third guy, right? He's supposed to be the guy that helps LeBron James and Anthony Davis not have to kill themselves game in and game out in order to win said game, right? And with DAngelo Russell, we've seen him be very solid for this Lakers team since he's came over. He's been arguably their third best player. And in my opinion, I think he is their third best player. I think there's a real argument for guys like, Austin Reeves, but DAngelo Russell he's more refined at this point. And I think that you need him to continue that. So he's played 17 games so far with the Lakers. And in those 17 games, he's averaged 17.4 points. He's averaged 6 assists, about half a steal, half a block, as well as from the field, he's shooting 55% in 2-point percentages. EFG is 58.8, and he's shooting 41, almost 42% from 3-point range. So he's not only getting it done on the playmaking end, he's getting it done on the offensive end, scoring the basketball, but at a very efficient clip. He's been very efficient, very effective, and he's been very good off the ball alongside LeBron James and Austin Reeves and guys like that, right? His ability to not only be the playmaker and play point guard, but in the spots where you have a guy like LeBron James, his ability to play off the ball and knock down shots is very crucial, and it's going to be crucial going forward. Now, personally, this big three, they have all the tools, all the intangibles. Right? You can make an argument that they are one of the best big threes in the entire league. There's not very many, if at all, that when you stack head to head as like a 3 pairing, because that's just what basketball is. It's always been that way, dating back to the beginning, right? Who are your stars? Who is that third kind of borderline all-star role player type guy? You look at the 3 guys that are efficient, and D'Lo is that third guy on this team, and he's performing as such. He had a very bad game. There's no doubt about it, at least on the offensive end. Again, he did the playmaking part, but just looked out of sorts there. Now, I've seen people mention that he's injured, right? That he's dealing with foot soreness and all kinds of stuff, but so is everybody. Everybody's dealing with that, and that wasn't an excuse when he was putting up 20 points the other night. We've seen him play well even without it. And this was a real moment for him to shine, right? This was a real moment for him to come out and show like, hey, I'm playing against my former team. I felt that they did me dirty. Everything I said about Rudy Gobert was correct. And here I am. Here's an opportunity. And he just didn't show up this game and was disappointing. But you look at like the Suns game, and he had 24 points on 9 of 14 shooting, 6 of 9 from 3. And he was a big reason the Lakers won that game. He's a guy that can provide that scoring punch and provide that spark. I don't think that this will be the regular, at least what we've seen. Now, there are concerns, right? Last year with the Timberwolves, he was a little rocky in their playoff series. But he was huge in the first play-in game? And he had some moments in the playoffs, but overall, people always remember you for the bad you do, not the good that you've done, right? It's what have you done for me lately? Yeah, 2 games, the last 2 games, you gave us 17 and 24, but you didn't show up for this game. We need you for this game. And that's just kind of the world we live in, especially when you're talking sports, right? And you're talking a fandom and fan base that expects you to show up night in and night out. But bad games happen. They do. Guys have off nights. We've seen LeBron have terrible nights and terrible games. AD's had terrible nights and terrible games where it's just like, why are they even on the court? So DAngelo Russell, I'm hoping that he got the bad game out of his system. You know, he showed up, didn't play to his best, got benched, rightfully so. Darvin Ham made the right call and didn't try to keep sticking with him. He found the unit that worked, stuck with that unit. Lakers ended up winning the game. So credit Darvin Ham for that, because the easy route is like, hey, he's our third guy. I should have stuck with him and he just didn't deliver. It was a bad game. No, he made the tough call, the tough decision of like, hey, you can't play tonight. Sit here, cheer for the team. And you saw D'Lo upset with himself. You saw him talking to himself and just like, yeah, banging his head and just like, he knew he messed up. He knew he didn't show up. And he's a competitor. He's a guy that isn't afraid of the moment. He's led a team to the playoffs in the Brooklyn Nets and was very good for them. He's a guy that has hit game winners and has been in big spots. And like I said, in the same situation last year and was huge for them. So I expect D'Lo to turn it around. I do expect him to be better. Everyone's going to have bad games. He's going to have another bad game if the Lakers have a deep playoff run, right? It just happens. LeBron will probably have a bad game. AD will probably have a bad game. Like, guys have bad games over the course of X amount of games. But it's, what are you doing in the games that aren't considered bad games? And even in the bad games, are you impacting the game in other ways? Which D'Lo did. 8 assists is nothing to sneeze at. And let's say all of them were 2-pointers, which they weren't. But let's say all of them were 2-pointers. That was 16 points that were generated. That's the difference between you winning and losing a game. You know, if he only had 2 points and had, 2 assists, then yeah, it's like, dude, like, you might as well not even been out there. But at least he still found his way to play make and didn't turn the ball over. Now, if he can continue that with the scoring, then now, watch out. He's going to be terrifying. And we've seen him do that. He's had 33 and 9 games where he only had, I think it was like 2 or 3 turnovers, right? That's what you want to see. Those are the games you want to see. But I'm not saying he has to give us 33 a night. Stick to your average, right? Give us 17 points per game. Give us 6 assists, couple steals, couple blocks here and there, hustle on the defensive end. But if you can just give us 17 and 6 on efficiency, which he's done again, almost 42% from 3, 50% from 2-point range, give us that, and that's perfect. That is all you need. If you can give us that, we just need you to do that 4 games out of every 7 series, right? Because we only have to win 4 games out of 7. So if he shows up for at least 4 games out of 7, we're probably going to win those games. Right? If he shows up and then you have LeBron James, you have Anthony Davis, he's going to be great. But it wasn't just him. People are pointing to him, which I understand. Again, you're supposed to be the third guy. We got you here. You want the contract. He's talking big money. He wants like $35 million or whatever. Right? He's the one that's in the position that he's in. He's supposed to be the other guy on this roster. But no one else really showed up outside of Schroeder and then Rui in the first half. Rui was great in the first half. Defensively, he was great in the second half especially. But from an offensive standpoint, he was the one that was kind of keeping things within reason in the first half, outside of course, LeBron James and Anthony Davis and stuff. But LeBron and AD were the ones that really showed up. And then Schroeder in that second half just went supernova, rolled his ankle, and every time he rolls his ankle, he turns into Michael Jordan in his prime. So that's beautiful. But outside of that, you didn't really get much from anybody else. Like Troy Brown had a bad game, 1 of 5. Austin Reeves, he had 12, but he was 4 of 13 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. Looked like he was forcing stuff. He had his concerns too, right? Because he's looking to draw contact, and in the playoffs, that's going to be a big issue. Right? You're not going to get that contact as regularly as you are in the regular season. So is Austin Reeves going to be able to play and finish through that and actually play to make the bucket rather than, because you see him in the regular season, right? We've seen it all for a good majority of the season at least, where he'll get into that lane, he'll draw the contact, and then he just kind of throws it up towards the basket expecting the call, and he usually gets that call. In the playoffs, he's probably not going to get that call. We've seen that with guys like even like James Harden. The reason James Harden, a lot of his efficiency goes down is because he doesn't get that favorable whistle. So Austin Reeves can't rely on that favorable whistle. But D'Lo, I just chalk it up as this was a bad game. Let's see how he does in the playoffs. Let's see how he does in the series. If let's say the next 2 games against the Grizzlies, he plays the same way and he's terrible, then yeah, it's a real problem. But I'm not going to hold one game against him when we've seen him play well for 17 games. Right? I mean, he's been a model of consistency for this team. Has hit some big shots for this Lakers team down that stretch and in those 17 games. Have had some big games. I mean, he was looking like this in the Knicks game. He was the only one that should have. The guy had 33 and 9. Everyone was going at AD in that game. Everyone was talking about how the Lakers are trash and that D'Lo was the only one that showed up and all that stuff. It happens. Guys have bad games. Teams have bad games. Teams have bad moments. Now, you can't have as many in the playoffs, right? Guys got to really show up. Luckily, that's why you have a 7-game series, because if you have a bad game like that or 2, you still can win that series. But guys show up. I expect D'Lo to be better. I expect Reeves to be better. Beasley, I'd like to see him have more opportunity. Again, the other night against Minnesota, or last night against Minnesota, right? He had 5 points, 2 of 3 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, and he played 14 minutes. But when he was on the court, they weren't really looking for him and setting him up. This is now like a handful of games that he has shot very well, but on small numbers and in limited minutes. And like, I would like to see if he has it going. He's a streaky shooter. He's a rhythm shooter, right? So if he's in rhythm and he's in a hot stretch, ride him, because Beasley's a guy that can completely take over a game. So guys in general need to be better. If we're just solely relying on LeBron James and Anthony Davis to win us every game in the playoffs, we're not gonna go very far. Now, I do think this team will get better as they progress. Even game 1. Game 1 is the filling out game. Game 1 is the jitters game, right? Especially when you're on the road. Obviously, I want to win that game. Obviously, I want the Lakers to go out and dominate that game and really, set the tone for the rest of the series, as well as make that statement of like, oh no, we're here. And I do think the 4 days rest is going to go a long way, because D'Lo is dealing with injury. And so is LeBron, so is AD, so is everybody, right? Even Schroeder. But you got to play through that. You got to be better. Like, you can't give D'Lo the excuse of, well, he's injured, but he's been fine. Like, if he was playing this way over the last 5 games, okay, maybe I could see that and I could understand that argument. But he's been great the last handful of games, and then he just all of a sudden, now the injury is affecting him? I don't buy that. I just think it was a bad game, which happens. Again, it happens. Guys have bad games. That's why you play 82 games. That's why you have averages instead of keeping totals per game. You get the general, what is this player's average over the season? Because they play so many games. Because guys are going to have good games, guys are going to have bad games. But again, I have faith in D'Lo. I trust D'Lo. I don't think he's afraid of the moment or anything like that. I think he'll be fine. And I think he'll be a big factor in this playoffs. And we're going to need him. We are. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Think we should be worried about D'Lo? Do you think we shouldn't? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below.